Hello, so my name is Pauline Raybaud. I'm a French-Belgian filmmaker, actress and writer, and other things. I would call myself a storyteller. I don't really care about the medium I'm using as long as it serves the purpose of the story and what I want to say, so I'm a storyteller. So at 18 I moved from Paris to London. I really wanted to make art. I went to a school named Central St. Martin's and I studied there for 4 years. It was the start of everything. I started as a photographer. I was spending a lot of time in the dark room, developing, being in my universe. I was putting music on and like really being in a cocoon. And from being in the dark room, I realized that I needed contact with the chemicals and like the material of film itself. So soon I developed my first 16mm, and that was magic. From the moment I realized that a moving image is actually 24 frames a second, I understood the whole process of film and it just spoke to me. I understood it was my medium, so I started like that. First as a photographer, then as a performance artist, and then as a performative short filmmaker, and then as an actress and a filmmaker and a writer, etc. So adding in the darkroom the process with the body, with the time it needs to develop a movie, to actually a physical process. I don't know, it just, for me, it made sense. It made sense to start filming like that. Another fun fact is that in parallel with the fine art studies I was doing in London, I started to do literature classes from Paris with a school called Sorbonne. I started like adding a very French literature background to the physical performative short films I was doing, merging mythology, history, poetry with the filmmaking. I then graduated a Masters of Literature with the same school. At the same time I was still studying in London, so it was a big a big vortex, but I loved it, and that's also what led me to keep storytelling and writing, and I'm now gonna do this for a very long time. Yeah. And I then also studied acting in Paris for about 2 years, to be sure I had all of the different tools to really start my way into the cinematic world. So Healing Queen is one piece of a very big cake. So it's actually one poem that is included in a series of poems I wrote called Euridice Towards the Light. So it's based on the mythology of Euridice and Orpheus, and I found a way of rewriting the myth, giving a voice to Euridice, because the myth has always been seen through the prism, through the eyes of Orpheus, and we don't always give space and a voice to Euridice. So I found it very interesting to give her that space and give her that voice. So I merged the mythology of Euridice with nowadays stories of heartbreaks, gathering several voices of several women. So it's actually a project that will have several poems attached to several feelings, and each have their own special story, their own special meaning. It's a cry from the heart, yet it's a story about healing. It's a story about healing not only for women, but for human. It's a story about expressing one's emotion, expressing one's vulnerabilities, and just allow it to be spread in art. When I shared it with the actress Eleejah Noah, she really resonated with that specific poem, and we were in my hometown in Ghent, and she just merged with the landscape, just flew with the grey of the Belgian town and this like slow pasted city, and it's just like, I don't know, she looked like an angel, ghosted angel, full of feelings. We poured ourselves in gold and in silver, we cried it out, we expressed it, we read poems to one another, and we just shot. One day, one cartridge, done. As you know, with analog filmmaking, you cannot just like let the camera run forever. You need to be very specific in advance with your shoots. It's very fragile. So in advance, I always sketch all of the frames I imagine. I map the order and I map the time frame. I visualize in advance how long each shot will take, approximately. I show it to the people working with me, and then we shoot. It's like a little orchestration, yet I let a lot of space for the inner feelings and the raw feelings of the actress to be expressed on the spot as well. Listen to her feelings, watch her eyes, watch where she's going, and the moment you feel that she has the trigger of the emotion, then you film. And it's magic. It's magic. It's letting space for feeling. This was the first of the poems I filmed, and I have to say that with all the feedback I'm having since I started sending it to festival, it gives me a lot of strength to keep empowering those women voices and those wounds to heal and keep doing the rest of the series. So I really want to say thank you as well to your festival for including me, and also for the opportunity to express on an interview. It really means the world. This could last for hours. I would say one of my classics stays Almodovar. My mom showed me some Almodovar movies a long time ago, and I was straight away really intrigued with his filming process. Not only the process, but the narration. Well, the cast is always on point and amazing. I'm in love with Rossi de Palma, for example. The color palette, the set designing, like everything spoke to me. I found it very vivid and very real. I'm also very in love with old filmmakers like Tarkovsky, Bergman, who are people that are much more slow-paced and in a more dreamlike atmosphere. I love black and white movies. I love movies that were still shot on analog. And Tarkovsky for me is one of the masters. Like, Stalker is just... what? He just brings us into his universe, and we're just drowned in a dreamlike atmosphere for the whole time of the movie, and when it stops you're just like, what? Where was I? And this is very precious, I think, because it's giving dreams to the viewer and poetic. More recently I fell in love with the movie Bande de Filles de Céline Sciamma. The English title is Girlhood. That was some empowering woman, empowering directing, casting, everything. The color palette, those very dark blue tones, it's magical. And one of the roles is played by Euridice Noah, and she is amazing. She's such a good actress. Other than that, I have to say I'm very French, and I love French New Wave filmmakers and writers. I love Marguerite Duras, Alain Robbe-Grillet, for those who know, Georges Perec. They just had a sense of literature, they had a sense of use of word, of play of words, and they mapped their movies regarding the way they would phrase a narration in a literature book. And I love this game. My directing style, I would say, is consciously mapped and orchestrated, yet totally oniric and organic. So I try to mix and match something very preciously mind created in advance, mapped, framed, rhythmed, like choreographed, like you would do for a dance. So you know the movements you're going to have, you know the expression you want to give, you know the temporality you're getting into. Yet, once the dancer is doing it, he has freedom to express beyond what you would have imagined at first. So I would say structured, yet organic. I like to pay attention to my actors or performers. I like to give them room to breathe and to express, yet directing them without being too holding, because then you lose something, you lose the power of their interpretation. Directing is like a dance, and filming is like making dreams alive, and together they give birth to a material that takes your storytelling beyond and gives it to the viewer to make it their own. Yeah, once you create your baby, you create your gift to the world, then it's out of your hand and it becomes the viewer's new object for thoughts. And I don't know, the whole process of giving and sharing, it's cleansing, it's magic, and that's why I do what I do. That's why I create art. It's just just for the sake of sharing. This short film is actually the first that I made of the series of 12 of the project I called Euridice Towards the Light, and if I had the budget I would definitely put it in there because analog filmmaking costs a lot and I still have 11 more poems to do, so yeah, I would put it in there. As well, as much as I love to do collaboration, I wish I had the budget to properly give money to everybody who is involved. If I had the budget, yeah, I would make sure that every artist participating in my movies will have the would have enough budget to create at their maximum range of expression. So this really depends on the project. So when it's collaboration, I don't want to rush the creation. They're all giving from their free time, so I cannot ask for a specific schedule because it would go against the idea of collaborating. Let's say, for example, this musician Yesbil, who is an amazing collaborator for years. We just like create this circle of communication, and I am not a musician, so I'm gonna try to express visually or with colors or a movement or a dance what I want to say, and he's gonna translate it into music. So we create this very unique circle of communication, and I don't know, one day the project is just there. It works. So I guess a hard part with this kind of project is that it's analog filming. So as much as you can direct and say, okay, I see this scene here and then this scene, and you draw it and you show it and you say this is 5 seconds, this is 7 seconds, at the end of the day it's still analog filming. So until you process it, you have no idea what's happening on the camera. Also, I'm being very ambitious with this kind of project because I write it and direct it, but I also appear in it sometimes. So at some point you need to give the camera to somebody else. You cannot do everything at the same time. So that's the hard part, because you have to abort some scenes because you know that it's too tricky to give it to somebody else. Yet, when I work with Philomène Amougou, it just works. Like, she is one of the rare person that actually understands my way of thinking and filming and creating. For example, for the scene where I'm like this with Eleejah's arm behind me, Philomène is filming the scene, and in advance I'm going to tell her, okay, I see this frame, but then I trust her with her eye because I know she got me. So thanks to artists like her, it's possible to actually challenge the analog camera and make it all happen. Yet there are some scenes I dreamed that were impossible to do because of the medium, but that's the game, I guess. A lot. I have a lot of plans. So as I said, I'm willing to keep doing this series. I think it's going to be a very beautiful project, very hybrid, including a lot of different artists and art forms. So I'm going to keep doing the Euridice Towards the Light series, short film series. Next to that, I'm working really hard, really hard on this new series. I wrote already and I'm now in the whole process of making it happen. So that's going to be a digital series, a long-term project, a series, and that's going to ask a lot of work, a lot of patience, a lot of time, but things we love take time, so I'm happy with that, and I won't give up. I'm a fighter. So that's going to be my future big work plan. Keep working on the healing and on the sharing and on the creating. Alright, it's a lot, it takes a lot of time, but I'm doing it with all of my heart and I won't stop. So thank you very much for this interview, for your time, for your consideration, for putting the project in this beautiful festival. And obviously thank you to the whole team, Yesbil, Eleejah Noah, Philomène Amougou, for your precious time and your arts and your craft and your patience. Thank you and have a good day.